Hi, folks. Jesse Ivy back with you again today. And today I want to talk to you about something that has to do with our industry, which is land sales. And it has to do with land companies who aren't honest with a lot of people. So this really bugs me because of the fact that a lot of people buy land and they think they can just go out there and live off grid. And you watch videos on YouTube and they show you how you can go out and live off the grid and that type of thing. Well, I get contacted from people all the time, calls come in or whatever. And I always tell everybody the same thing. You need to check with counties about living off grid on land. A lot of these land companies, they, are private individuals. It can be land companies or private individuals. I will say that most realtors will not do this because they are bound by a code of ethics. However, a lot of land companies and private individuals will tell some of these people that are looking to live off the grid that it's okay for them just to move out in a truck or move out in an RV or live in a tent on a piece of land in the county that they see a property that they're interested in and they want to buy it. A lot of times what they're telling you isn't exactly true. So you don't want to just believe a land company or a private individual without, especially about living off the grid or living off grid in your RV or your tent or whatever. And so the thing is a lot of companies aren't straightforward because why? Because they want to make a sale. And same with private individuals. They want to make a sale. Maybe you buy a piece of land on eBay or something like that. And in the advertising on eBay, it's telling you, oh, yeah, you can live on the land. You can camp year round. You can, live there. You can just, you don't even need an outhouse or anything. You can just go to the bathroom out there and basically do whatever you want to do on the land and live there, and there's no problems. Well, over and over and over again, I have seen this happen where people think they can just go out on a piece of land, start living on it, doing whatever they want. And what happens is that the county is contacted by somebody, and then you get a visit from the law, like, the code enforcement from the planning department or whatever county you're talking about. So, people just want to believe that you can live off the grid. And in some states and some counties, you can, but you have to do your homework first. Not every county, like for example, Arizona, not every county in Arizona will let you live off the grid. Not every county in Oregon will let you live off the grid, but you have to call the county and you need to find out from them what exactly they require for you to be able to live off the grid. A lot of times especially on eBay, they, in their descriptions, they don't even tell you, they just tell you you can live off the grid or whatever, and not that there could be a problem if you decide to live off the grid, because a lot of these guys are flipping land and they don't care. Some land companies do the same thing. They're just flipping land. They don't care. There are some good land companies that make everybody follow the rules, but there's other land companies or private individuals that don't allow, they don't allow people to find out all the information because they're so busy wanting to flip their land or sell their property. So you just want to make sure that, I've heard it all. You want to make sure that you know what you're doing before you decide to live off the grid. And that the only way you're going to find that out is by not taking the seller's word for everything. You want to call the county and find out and make sure you're allowed to live off the grid in that county or state. You don't want to just take the word of one of these land companies or some seller that you don't even know who's on eBay hiding behind the alias of land capital guy or whatever. You just don't want to do that. You don't want to take the word of a seller because of the reason is I've seen this happen over and over again, man. Somebody goes out, they go out to their property, they bring their tent or their RV, they start living there a couple of days. Maybe they get a couple of weeks into it. What happens? A local calls in to code enforcement, or they look at you. One thing people don't realize is they can also look at you from above. They can literally see you using Google Earth or variations of that. And when I mean, they have the type of maps where they see things in real time, not like all of us. They can actually see if you're actually doing something on the land out there that you're not supposed to be doing. And what happens is, whether that they do it that way or a neighbor calls in a complaint because they see you going and living on a piece of land, the next thing you know, you get a visit from code enforcement with the sheriff or something like that. And you don't want that to happen. So the way to stop that from happening would be to basically do your homework. And the way you do your homework is by calling the county. So let's say, for example, you're interested in buying a piece of land and you want to live off the grid. Okay. Well, the first thing you need to do is when you're talking with somebody, you need to let them know if you're going to make an offer on a piece of land. This is what I'm thinking about doing. I want to live off the grid. I want to grow my own vegetables. I want to be out in the woods. I want to, just live off the grid on my own, no power, I want to do it all myself. And I just want to know how to go about doing it. And I'm looking for land that's like that. And that's what you need to do, is talk to somebody up front about that when you're, deciding to buy a piece of land. Then the next thing you need to do is you need to call the county. So after you tell the seller and you talk to the seller for a little while, you need to call the county. You need to do your due diligence and call the county and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing in your county. I want to live off the grid. How do I go about doing that? I want to do this and that. A lot of times the county will be right up front with you, or they'll have a page on their website that has to do with camping, or you can only camp here 30 days a year, or you can only stay on your property 30 days a year. I see this happen over and over. And then I see these ads on eBay or on Craigslist. Oh, camp year round, do this, do that, or from land companies on their websites. You can camp year round. You can do whatever you want on the property. It's your property. You bought it. That's not always true. You need to do your due diligence. And the way you do your due diligence is by calling the planning department. I don't care what land company you're talking about. You need to do your own due diligence and not depend on the seller. The seller may not know, or the seller may not be telling you the truth about living off grid on a particular property. So my suggestion is you should always call the county no matter what and get all your questions answered. How many days a year can I camp on this property? Can I live on the property? Can I bring my RV to the property? Can I tent camp on this property and live on the property? Am I required to pay for a septic and put it in before I'm even allowed to live on the property? Do I need to put in a well? What about water source and that type of thing? I mean, I've heard it over and over and over again from different people that I've dealt with over the years, or they'll call in and tell me something like this happened to them. You just want to do your due diligence. Make sure you get your questions answered. And if the seller can't answer the questions, because you don't want to believe or take the word of someone who doesn't know. If they live in Wyoming and they're selling you Arizona land, they may not even know what is required there, what the county requires before you can live off grid there. So you definitely want to do your due diligence, because all it's going to take is some neighbor or somebody to call in a complaint about you, that you're living on the land. Oh, there's this new guy. He's staying on the land. He didn't get permission from the county or whatever. Or, I think he's living in his RV. He's been staying there now 3 weeks. And I know for a fact that you can't stay there that long and camp continuously. So, and then what happens? You get a visit from the law. You get a visit from code enforcement, a visit from the sheriff or the police department or whatever, and they're going to come and then they're going to tell you, you need to get off the property. Oh, I know. We don't care if you paid for the property and you own the property. You can't stay on the property and live on the property without going through these rules. And some counties are so strict that you literally have to put in a septic, put in a well, put in a road. Just it goes on and on. You have to make something. You have to put on a manufactured home, or you have to build a house there or whatever. So before you ever think about buying a piece of land, do your due diligence, and that means call the county. Just call the county. Call the county with a list of questions. First thing to do, tell the seller what you want to do. That's the first thing. Second thing to do, once you find a piece of land, then call the county and go over the questions. Can I live on the land? Can I stay on the land? make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. It's just not worth it, because once you get on that property, suppose you bought the property, moved all your stuff out there, and now the county's telling you that they're going to start fining you every day. I've seen letters where they say you're going to be fined $500 a day until you remove all the stuff off the property and you get off the property yourself. You are not allowed to live on the property. I mean, I've seen letters come to buyers who have bought land from sellers who either didn't know the rules or weren't straight up about the rules. So before you even consider living off the grid, please do me a favor and call the county and get your questions answered. Go through the hoops. It's worth it going through the hoops. If you try to live off the grid and you don't follow the rules, eventually somebody's going to fink on you, and then you're going to be in a big mess, and they're going to start fining you. I've seen this happen over and over and over. Been in this business 20 years, and I have seen this happen over and over and over again. I even know one guy that got handcuffed and taken downtown. So please do your due diligence so you don't end up getting in trouble trying to live off the grid. And I understand why people are wanting to live off the grid right now. Rent's so dang expensive, it's ridiculous. I mean, it literally is. Rent, it costs so much, and to buy a house, it's getting to be where you almost have to be a millionaire to be able to buy a house. So I definitely understand, but go do your due diligence. Go through the hoops. Just follow the county's rules. And if you can't live in that county with what you're wanting to do, find a county you can. Find a state that you can live in and go from there. Anyway, if you have any horror stories or anything like that that has to do with living off the grid or trying to live off the grid, put them in the comments section down below. Let me know about them. I'd like to hear from you, some of your perils and some of the things that have happened to you if you did try to go out and live on some property. The other thing I would like to ask, if you like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of informational videos for you, and we don't charge you for anything. So anyway, this is Jesse. That's my lecture for the day. Go Raiders, and hopefully you won't make those mistakes trying to live off the grid and not following the rules. Anyway, this is Jesse from the Owner Terms Land Network. I hope you like this video. And we will be back again very soon with another video for you to watch. And this is Jesse signing off from the Owner Terms Land Network.